Okay, here's another mixture problem that we're going to go through. We want to end up with an 85% alcohol solution. That means you want to end up with a beaker containing 85% alcohol. And you know that you have a beaker that's 90% alcohol. You don't know how much or how many milliliters of that substance you have. And you also have a beaker that does contain 50 milliliters of a 60% alcohol mixture. Let's see what the diagram looks like. Here's the 50 milliliter beaker. It's filled up with 50 milliliters. 60% of it is alcohol. So we can actually take 60% of 50 milliliters and find out that there's 30 milliliters of alcohol in this beaker. We don't know how many milliliters we have of this 90% solution, so we're going to let X represent how many milliliters are in this second beaker that contains 90% of alcohol. So 90% of X, 0.9X represents the amount of alcohol in this beaker. If there's 100 milliliters in this beaker, then 90% of that would be 90 milliliters. We just don't know what X is. And we want to end up with, well, we don't know how many milliliters we're going to end up with, but however many it is, Y milliliters, we want 85% of it to be alcohol. Now in red, I have mentioned how many milliliters of water we would have, which is just, if there's 30 milliliters here, there's 20 here in water. If there's 0.9X here, there's 0.1X water, and there's 0.85Y, there's 0.15Y of water. Okay, now we need two equations and two unknowns. So we've let X equal the number of milliliters of the 90% solution, Y the number of milliliters that we will end up with, and we have two unknowns, X and Y, so we need two equations. One of the equations just has to do with the number of milliliters total. Has nothing to do with the alcohol. So in this beaker we have 50 milliliters. In this beaker we have X milliliters. If we add them together, we'll get the number of milliliters in the final beaker. So 50 plus X is equal to Y. This first equation deals with the number of milliliters. Now we can get a second equation by looking at the number of milliliters of alcohol. So we know in the first beaker we have 30 milliliters of alcohol. In the second beaker we have 0.9X milliliters of alcohol. And in the third beaker we have 0.85Y milliliters of alcohol. In other words, alcohol plus alcohol equals total amount of alcohol. You could have also set up an equation dealing with water. 20 milliliters of water plus 0.1X milliliters of water equals 0.15Y milliliters of water. So there's actually two ways to get the second equation. You can use water plus water equals water, or alcohol plus alcohol equals total alcohol. So my recommendation on a problem like this where you have two equations and two unknowns, in the second equation I don't like to work with decimals. So I indicated here I'm going to multiply every term of the second equation by 100 to clear the equation of decimals. Why do I pick 100? Because that'll move this decimal point 2 places to the right, and I won't have a decimal anymore. So every term multiplied by 100 leaves this. 30 times 100 is 3,000. 100 times 0.9 moves the decimal point over 2 places. So from front of the 9, 2 places to the right, I got 90X. And 100 times 0.85Y, 85Y. Cool. Oh, I don't have any decimals. Now I'm going to use the substitution method. I've already got Y in terms of X. Y equals 50 plus X. So I'm going to take this expression for Y and substitute it into this second equation. There's the 50 plus x replacing this y right there. And now it's just a matter of solving for x. So 3,000 plus 90x equals 85 times the quantity 50 plus x. 85 times 50 is 4250. 85 times x is 85x. Use the distributive property to remove parentheses. I want to get the terms containing x on one side of the equal sign, the constant terms on the other. So I subtract 85x from both sides. That gets the two terms containing x on the left. And I subtract 3,000 from both sides to get this constant term to the other side of the equal sign. Combining similar terms, 5x equals 1250. Divide by 5, x is 250 milliliters. And if x is 250, right here, y equals 50 plus 250, or 300 milliliters. And this is the check row right here. 30 milliliters in the first beaker. 90% of 250 is 225. Does that really equal 85% of 300? Yes, it does, 255. So there you go. Hope that helped. If you have any questions, post a comment.